In working the way God gave it you to work, you show the children of God that God also works in them. For the children did not know that in all the ways that God spoke, God also spoke to them. For in telling the world that things will return back to the way they were in the beginning when the end has come, God spoke to the children that they may know that in all the ways that God was with them and within them, that God will return back into them and be with them. These things we have given unto you to teach, that the hope of salvation will be known to the children of God. For God keeps the word of God unto the children. Behold, I come, that you may go, and that you may grow in the knowledge and the consciousness that brings the wisdom of God into all of the children. The many children will be given to see visions, and the visions that they will be given to see will be the way in which God reconnects them with the past. For many of the children of God have already been given to be reconnected with their previous lives. And because the children of God had lost the continuity of their lives, they lost the memory of knowing who they were in the several ways in which they came and left and returned. And so you must let the children know that in all the ways that God had given them to dream or to have visions, that God was replaying the story of their previous lives to them. And many saw the many and did not know that they were looking at themselves, the form that they had taken, the way they looked. And because no one knows the way God's mysterious ways are, no one knows the way that God shows them, that God replays for them the many journeys they made in this life, the way they have been, what they have done, and the way they ended. And so you will tell them that there was nothing new that God showed unto you. For every way that God told them, there's nothing new. Everything that is was, that is the way God wanted them to know. That every dream or vision they had is the way God replayed their lives for them, showing them that in all the ways that they lost the continuity of life, they lost the continuity of knowing who they were and how they were. And these things we have given to you to know, that in teaching the things that we have given unto you to our children will come to the true knowledge and consciousness of God in them. This world ends in the same way that man ends. For God shows man, every man ends in a stillness. And this old, sick, and weary world will end with a stillness. We have said to you, no one knows how it will end. No one knows when it will end. But all know that it will end. And it will end. It will end. We have said that nothing that man proposes will ever come to pass. For the Lord thy God told everyone, whatever man proposes in the judgment of God, God will dispose of it. And so God disposes of every evil plan that man has conceived and continue to conceive in this ending time. There's nothing to fear. You must tell the children, there is nothing to fear. For your gods have returned, and those that are of your ancestors have also returned. For in the holy Armageddon of Father and Mother God, the armies of the children that are ancestors will march against the tribes of earth, and they will bring devastation to them and to their lands, because they did not know how God told them, be sure of what you do, for whatever you do, it will return to you. God says to you, son, this world never understood the way your God speaks. And because man did not understand the way God speaks, he couldn't know what God means by the things God says. And God showed all the children in many ways how God will end this sick and weary world. And because the children were not in touch with the divinity of your mother and father God, they were never able to interpret what they were given to see. And so God knew that the time had to come when in preaching and teaching, you will reveal the prophecies of God to all our children. That the children must know that God is true to every word God said, and God said, it is finished. It is finished. They have nothing to fear. They have nothing to fear. We have said to you that you must say to them, that you have said to them time and time again, this image of you is not the real you. For the real you is hidden, and no man can ever, 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 ever destroy that which is hidden, that is your God. And God showed all of the children, even though the flesh perisheth, yet do I, God in the Spirit, live. And God lives. And God lives. Man can do nothing to that which is greater than himself. Man can do nothing to that which he cannot see. And that which is in the children that cannot be seen is that which no man can ever touch. No man can ever touch it. Say this to our children. In telling them to know themselves, God said, look, tell them, the greater you is within you, not that which is seen outside of you, because it is your God. It is your God. And when it leaves this temple and returns back to the sanctity of God's way, God sends it always as a testament to show the children that it lives. it lives. You live. You live because that which is of God, that is God in you, lives. I said it's hard work, son. It's hard work. Hard work. And that is why we said unto you, we have given you an awesome work to do. Because it is hard work. Hard work with the children. Hard work with the children. For we saw the ways of our children. We spoke with our children. And we showed them the way that we are their only helpers. And God said the children went back, doing the same things that brought them always crying to God. And God knew that God had to put an end to the long suffering of the children and to every atrocity that was committed in the house of God. And so we say it is finished. It is finished. God has grown tired of man's sins, abominations, despicable behaviors. And God knew that it can no longer go on. It can no longer go on. And so we bring everything to a stillness. The calamities and disasters that has begun will continue, increase, and intensify in every part of earth. For God will show man that in all the ways that he played God, he is helpless to the true God and to the powers of your true God. Because God shows man that no man can fight against the powers of God and no man can battle with the armies of God. We have said to you that in all the ways the children have been dismembered and flayed, and all manner of evil things done to their bodies, so will it be done to their bodies as well. For they will see the arms of men being torn from their bodies without the hands of men. They shall see the heads of men cut off without any axe or any sharp instruments. They shall hear the cries of many for the pains that they feel, for the whips that were given to them, but they will see no hands nor whips. God will teach them. God will teach them that when God is in charge of this world, and God is an all-knowing and all-seeing God, God knows exactly what to give to them and how to return it in every way that God told them. It will return to you. The children will see these things, and many of them will also be so afraid. But let them know that it is God's armies that are warring in the Armageddon of God. This world has not seen the ferocious might of God. For every token that we sent to them and the disasters that came to them was just a warning to them that God's power is awesome. And when God's power is awesome, the destruction that it can bring is awesome. And so God knows all the ways to tear down everything that they placed on earth, to disrupt everything that they depended on, to destroy everything that they believe belonged to them. And God will show them there's only one God. There was never any other God. And every way that they called on their many false gods, they called on the false side of God. Every way that they practiced sorcery, they practiced that which was on the terrible side of God. So you too must tell the children, y'all don't know your God. Because in all the ways God told all of them, God made heaven and earth and all that therein is. When God told them God is the all in all, they didn't know. So you must tell them. The devil and Satan and every abominable thing that you see is a side of God that is terrible. That is what God warned every one of you about. So when God said, when we tell you they don't know God, they don't know God. There can be no devil, there can be no Satan, there can be no terrible force in this world, except that force comes from God, that is of God. Because nothing can create itself. God has to create it. So you must tell them. You see, all of you walk around this world, blinded to everything God had shown unto you, listening to all manner of false prophets prophesying unto you, preaching to you a doctrine that they do not know. Was the way that God showed man that when you walk in deceit before God, God will give this seat unto you. And so no man knows why God told them. Deceivers will deceive. And they should have asked God, how do you mean? And God would have told them. Because whatever we give to anyone, that is all that they can have. And they cannot give you anything that they do not have. And so deceit is the way God shows man. That when he became a deceiver and an ingrate unto God, God showed man that God returned it back to man. The eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth is the way God told it. Exactly as you have given it to us, we will give it back to you. So nothing in this world, however terrible it is, did not come from anything other than God. It couldn't create itself. It couldn't be in existence without God, because God is the creator of all things. And these things you have to teach our children so that they may come to the realization why God told man, tempt not the Lord thy God. And God also told them God is a terrible God. God is indeed a terrible God. And when your God is a terrible God, God can show man the things that bring terror to man. They didn't create themselves. They came from your father and mother God. When man was told not to judge, it is because God knew that he didn't know the nature of your God and what your God can do. Inasmuch as God told them there's nothing God cannot do. There's absolutely nothing God cannot do. God can do everything. The most ridiculous things, the most terrible things. God can do them. And whenever they saw whatever many did to others, they cry out, oh God, this is a business. God said, yes. But what you don't know is the way God told you all. Don't judge. Don't judge. Don't judge because you don't know what you are seeing. When terrible things happen to many, it is the way that God shows everybody why God is true to every word. God returns it back to them in the same way that they had given it. Doesn't matter in which life they've done it, God can return it in any life. And that is the reason man does not understand why God told them, don't judge, don't judge. But you set up your courts and you set all your judges and your lawyers and all these guys, and they started judging in the courts and saying, oh yes, this is guilty and this is innocent. And God said, what do you know? What do you know? I warned you, do not judge, because you don't know what you are doing, because you cannot judge something that you do not know. And because man went his wayward way, he did not know that God was always angry with man for doing the things that God told them not to do. You cannot judge God. You cannot judge the work of God And when God is the all and all, and God is all that there is, you cannot judge the all that there is. You cannot. And so God knew that this whole world went so wrong that God decided, look, son, it is done. It is done. It has to end. And so in all the ways that we have shown you, in the visions that we have given to you, how it will end. You will prophesy these things when we tell you to do so, so that the children of God may hear and see and know what it is you have said to them. For they will know that your God is real. Your God is real. Your God exists. And your God has the power to do whatsoever God says will be done. For in all the ways God taught them to speak with God in what they call prayer to God. God taught them, thy will be done. And they all said, God, thy will be done. And so let them know. Everything that you are given to say to them, and all the things you have said to them and will continue to say to them, God's will be done.